My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men, just like the one who took his life. That young man. I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do.
Yeah, speaking powerfully in front of thousands of mourners today, Erica Kirk mercifully forgiving her husband's suspected assassin, receiving erupting applause as she made those remarks today. And that suspected killer, Tyler Robinson, 22 years old, currently facing charges of felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, and aggravated murder. We'd like to note that in the state of Utah, aggravated murder does hold the death penalty, and the firing squad is on the table. For more, we want to bring in criminal defense attorney Mark Geragos. And Mark, always good to see you, and I'm so particularly interested in your take here because you've represented everyone from Michael Jackson to the Menendez brothers. How do you expect that the suspect's team will be trying to head off the possibility of the death penalty here? What does the defense look like for him?
Well, first of all, there's a distinction from the defense on guilt phase and penalty phase, so to speak. If you are going to accept guilt, if you're going to say, look, the evidence is so overwhelming that we're going to embrace the guilt and we're going to focus on the penalty, under Utah law, they have this kind of a mitigation scheme that's similar to several other states across the country, EED, which is extreme emotional distress. And I would imagine that they're already looking at that, whether they're going to employ it. It's way too early to decide, but the Utah Supreme Court has refined that within the last 6 years. And there is a burden shifting that I won't get into right now, but that would be the focus for the defense. First of all, is analyzing all the evidence, making a decision as to whether they're going to vigorously contest guilt. And if they're not going to vigorously contest guilt, then they're going to move their focus to the mitigation, so-called mitigation evidence. And you know, there is a pattern, or at least cases across the country in recent years where cases that were thought unwinnable in terms of a capital case, that defense lawyers have got jurors to spare the people's lives. I believe in Utah, all you need is one vote.
Yeah. Tell us more about that. You really only need one on the of those jurors to say they do not want to hand down the death penalty, and then that's it, right? This is not a majority situation. They literally cannot move forward with the death penalty if that's the case.
Correct. And so it's one of those times where all you've got to do, and as I often say, cases are won or lost in jury selection. And clearly, if you find somebody in jury selection who you think is going to factor in either the defendant's upbringing, the stressors or aggravators is what the legal term is called, aggravators in Utah, and then the circumstances surrounding it and exactly how you're going to present this case, you may have the ability to find that one juror who says, I'm just not going to vote for death.
If the death penalty is handed down, how does it progress to a firing squad? What does that pathway look like?
Well, you get the normal appellate rights that you get in any other case. You get a heightened scrutiny, if you will, appellate-wise, and you do have the ability, if and when that happens, and I'm getting way far ahead of myself, but if that happens and you exhaust it state, you then have the federal kind of going up the ladder federally as well. I don't know that we can predict any of that at this point. I think that the defense team right now is just poring over the evidence, doing a parallel investigation, and analyzing how impressive or how strong the prosecution case is.
How strong do you think the prosecution case is? You know, we're looking at the evidence against Robinson right now, the text messages, the surveillance. I mean, is this a slam dunk case for the prosecution?
Well, I don't know enough, and we don't know enough. I think everybody is speculating. You hear a lot of times, you'll hear what the evidence is. A lot of times, in cases I've had where I've heard what the supposed evidence was, it doesn't correspond to what the
But I mean,
evidence
let's look at what's
is.
even up on our screen right now. These text messages. You weren't the one who did it, right? I am. I'm sorry. I mean, if you are his defense team, how is this looking for him right now?
Yeah, you still have to look. It would not be game over based on those texts if they are accurate, if they're admissible, if they're by him and in the context. Those are, that's a heavy lift, but you're still not giving up just because you see some text messages if you're the defense.
I want to ask, it was this remarkable moment in Erica Kirk's speech today, this statement of forgiveness for the alleged assassin. Could this mean anything in the courtroom, or is this just a spiritual statement guided by her beliefs?
It is a spiritual statement guided by her beliefs, obviously. Those of us who are Christian have often kind of wondered about the criminal justice system in America and this idea of forgiveness and redemption and things of that, how that fits into crime and punishment. But a lot of times, the victim's kin have a great input into what the prosecutor will do. That is not always the case. I mean, I've been fighting with the DA in LA County for the last 6 months on the Menendez brothers, because they're not listening.
I have to ask, Mark. I have to ask, and we're out of time, but I have to ask about that. You represented the Menendez brothers. Their parole was recently denied. Will they be trying again?
Oh yes, they got the least stringent denial, which was 3 years. Technically, they're eligible again in a year. I think that if they have no cell phone violations, look, I've been very public in saying that I think the last hearings were rigged, and I would just say that if cell phone violations are the worst thing that they could find in order to turn down their parole, if anybody were the poster children for people who have rehabilitated themselves after 35 years, these two are.
All right, Mark Geragos, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.